What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Nesson Studios. Michaela Vernava and Andre Kachatourian, joined by UFC featherweight fighter Calvin Kattar, fresh off a huge win at UFC 220, which went down at TD Garden. I need to start by getting your perspective of the crowd at TD Garden in Boston, because you're a Methuen guy, you're local. What was that like?
It's something you dream of when you start your career, and I was just happy to see it through. I didn't pay too much attention to it when I was walking out, but after the fight, I really made sure to take it all in, and incredible experience.
So, Calvin, first fight in the UFC was in Anaheim, UFC 214, only 2 weeks' notice against Andre Fili. You came in with a unanimous decision win. What's the difference, like, actually having a whole training camp coming into this one?
Yeah, it's nice. The last one was like a flash in the pan. It was a 2-week camp, so I didn't really get to take it in, the whole experience. But this one was 10 weeks, so I had plenty of time, and it's there's pros and cons of both. You just get it in, you don't overthink it. But 10-week camp, you work hard every day. It's a grind, and it just means a lot more to have that much preparation behind it. You really want to see it through, and I was glad I got it done.
And this camp that you underwent was during the holidays, and I know you said after the fight that that's not something you ever thought that you would do. How come you decided it was worth it this time?
It had to be a big opportunity. UFC, Boston, TD Garden. I signed the contract before I knew who it was, and I was excited at the opportunity.
And the opponent, Shane Burgos, came in undefeated. Big win for you. I mean, the guy nobody's done what you've done, beat Shane Burgos, and the way you did it. Didn't you got a spot in that top 15 now in the featherweight, or who's next for you? Who on that featherweight? Is that what you're looking for, like a top 15 opponent?
Yeah, I'm excited to have Tyson Chartier at Top Game Management help me out now. He worries about all those decisions for me. It really allows me to just focus on the training. There's so much to pick up now being in the UFC, and being ready for all these top athletes that are going to come my way. I just got to be a better version of me every time, and Tyson Chartier helps on just who we like as a matchup when we go out and execute.
I really liked what you said after the fight, and you are of course wearing a Patriots jersey, but that you take that Patriots one game at a time approach. You said that you hadn't before this looked beyond your next opponent, but now with a couple of days for this huge win to sink in, how does that just kind of change your perspective as to what you want to do next to further your career in the octagon?
Yeah, it builds confidence for sure, taking out a guy like Shane. That was my first finish in about, since dropping a 45, so that was definitely big for me, and I didn't look past him. He's a tough opponent. I was happy to get the win, and now whoever Tyson puts in front of me, whoever's next, I'm excited to go out and just be a better version of myself than I was this last fight.
I gotta ask you something. Like, big win, obviously, UFC 220, fight of the night, you were on the main card, but somehow you go to Wikipedia, you type Calvin Kattar, you still don't have a Wikipedia.
No respect, man. No respect.
What is that? Exactly. Like, what is that?
I know. My manager Tyson, I was saying, he asked Alexa on the Google Home, like, who's Rob Font? My teammate, he fought in the night. He got a nice knockout. What's up, Rob? She's like, he goes, who's Rob Font? She's like, Rob Font's a mixed martial arts fighter from Woburn. She's like, Alexa, who's Calvin Kattar? And she's like, no results found. I'm like, man, I got no respect from Alexa, anybody. They'll all know, they're all underestimating me, they're all doubting me. I like it. I've been the underdog twice in my UFC debuts. I'm excited to go out and really show people what I am and who I'm about.
Well, this was Andre's idea, because I think now when we ask Siri who is Calvin Kattar, we need to start getting some results.
And anyone can edit Wikipedia. So I vow that by the end of the day, I'm going to go out there
we're going
to write your Wikipedia page today, because it needs to be out there.
Yeah,
you need to tell us what would be
Give us some tidbits that we should throw in there,
like the fun facts. What needs to be
I
on
need to
it?
get that blue check everyone's talking about. I need to get verified. Everyone's busting
on Twitter, you're not verified on Twitter either.
Verified. Yeah, I'm slacking. This week, get me verified, Ness, and hashtag verified.
We'll see what we can do about that. Yeah. But if we were writing your Wikipedia page right now, what are the things that people don't know about you that you would really want them to know?
There's a lot of things that people know about me that I don't want them to know. I'd rather go the other way.
That's funny. Through in high school, wrestling champ there.
Yes.
Yeah, and then what? And then what happened?
Bill James, man, is my first coach. Big shout out to him and my assistant coach at the time, Mark Scania, my my freshman wrestler at the time, Johnny Chagru. They all went to go see my fight. And it was a wild experience to see them in the crowd, the coach I started with, and then leading it. Just had a ton of support that night, man. The atmosphere was crazy. And what a night for Boston, to be a fan of Boston, with the fight Saturday and then the TB12 taken home on Sunday.
So you've talked about, I mean, how Siri doesn't know who you are. You're not verified yet, but
we're going back
you
there.
were in.
We're
still there.
We're
We're still there
you
because
are.
I have
Yeah,
to
at the end of the
ask.
day.
You were so in the spotlight on Saturday night, and this, I feel like, could be a huge launching pad for you. And you look at some of the fighters and their approach to the promotion aspect, which is a big part of the UFC. Would you describe yourself, when you look forward, as to how you're going to promote yourself, more as a Conor McGregor or a Stipe Miocic?
Yeah, I'm just, I'm going to try to be the best cavalcader I could be. They're all great people in the sport, and yeah, they all have their own style, but just staying true to me, what got me here, being real, and I think that goes a long way.
Love it.
How did you get that nickname, Boston Finisher?
I fought some kid from New York for that title fight you were showing me.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the promoters played into the New York-Boston vibe a little bit. He was the New York state of mind. They called me the Boston Finisher. And now since then, I get all this pressure to finish guys. I haven't got to finish in like 7 fights. My manager's always talking smack. My teammates, they were busting me in my chops. And I was glad I got the win, so now I could stop hearing it. I got the finish, man. I'm pumped.
Exactly. So that was in 2009, 2008, around that time, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Was that an XC Elite or
Elite XC?
Elite XC?
Yeah, I believe that was it.
Okay.
No, American Steel Cage Fighting was where I got the title.
All right. So and that was what 10 years ago. You're referring to as a Globe article from 2009 that I somehow dug up on Google.
Yeah.
And in that article I was reading, you said that when you were first introduced to mixed martial arts, you were primarily a wrestler before that, but you said, man, if I could have punched some of those guys, I would have won some of those fights.
It's the truth, man. Some of these kids, they just had technique, but I always felt like I had a little scrappiness in me, I always felt like these guys that beat me in wrestling, yeah, if I could have just, they wouldn't beat me up, but they could beat me in wrestling. Now I have my chance to prove it. Sign up.
But you also talked about how you said in there that there's some animals out there and you hope to become one of those beasts someday. Do you think you are yet?
Well, to be a beast, you got to train a beast, and I feel really confident in my training partners. I'm training with like the best guys in New England. Shout out to Joe Lazarn for having us down all camp. My main teammate Rob Font, Kyle Bochniak, all these guys. It's like to be at that level, you got to train with guys around that level, and we have a great thing going for us right now.
All right, Calvin, you run your own promotion, Combat Zone. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's where I got my start in my career, fighting for Combat Zone. I fought Combat Zone 9 times, and then several years back, I took over ownership, and now me and my brother, we promote MMA events in Manchester, New Hampshire, and we have an upcoming event Saturday, February 17th at the Manchester Radisson Hotel.
Now, one question about being a promoter yourself, does that help with negotiations with Dana or anything?
Well, you don't really. You're very limited in your negotiations with Dana, especially when you're trying to, earn your name, and that's what we're doing now. But as far as locally when I was fighting, yeah, it kind of posed a little bit of a problem because I knew what I was worth, and I felt like, I wasn't going to settle for less than that, and you're negotiating with other promoters, so they look at it's a little different, but. It's helped a lot with me to understand the sport as a whole, coming from a fighter and a promoter. It's two different worlds, although they're pretty similar, but they have their big differences. So when I took over ownership of Combat Zone, it was a lot of learning, and now we're in our 65th event, and I feel happy that I have a good team around me to help me with Combat Zone as well as the fighting.
Now, the UFC's already released a bunch of scheduled dates throughout the year in different venues. Is there a particular place that you want to fight?
Yes, Vegas for the Ice Cream Outback. I was there for Rob's fight before my debut. I was in Vegas for Rob's, and they had this crazy ice cream stand out back, soft serve, all the fixins. I was like, what? This is what it's like to fight in the UFC? I couldn't wait. And then I got my fight in Cali, and the ice cream stand was nothing like it was in Vegas. And then last Saturday in Boston, it was all right, but I want to go to Vegas and try out that.
Not usually the first thing you hear people rave about when they talk about going to Vegas, but we're definitely going to have some soft serve next time.
What's your favorite flavor?
Yeah, whatever they got, any type of soft serve. I'm more of a fixins guy. You throw everything on top.
Love it.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, but you talked about the guys training with beasts. You also did say after the fight that better than your own knockout was the fact that your two fighting partners also won, Rob Font and Kyle Bochniak. just what is it like for you being able to train with them? Do you think that that helped, the fact that the three of you fought on the same night and being able to go through training camp together?
Yeah, huge advantage. We were pushing ourselves all camp. Like I said, we had a 10-week camp, so constantly just strength and conditioning and mixing up in the sparring. It was a good support to be train with guys that have the same goal in mind for the same day. It all worked out, but very fortunate to be working with those guys along with the other ones I mentioned, and I think you could expect big things from New England MMA in the future. I think we did a good representation Saturday night, and I think only more is to come from New England.
All right. Hope so. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
it's great
thanks
to
for
have
having
you
me.
in here.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate your time.
Awesome, cool. Thank you, Calvin.